In this tutorial I will show how to make a door open and close with verse and control rig and use the mutator zone to trigger these events. So let's go. So what I'm doing is I'm using the mutator zone as a volume to trigger the code, and I will move it up, and I've connected the mutator zone world position to the control rig so that the control rig knows where the mutator zone is and move the door based on that position. Let's create the control rig. So I got the example folder and I will go to animation, control rig, create. Example door. We open it up. So in this example I will show a way to use control rig without any skeletal mesh. We can reference components or actors outside of this rig, but we need to have one bone. So we can right click here and say new bone. We call this root. And we need two more things. We need the input control. And we need a attach. I like to separate a little bit, so in this case an attach control. And what I'll do is the attach control, I'll put it as a child of the root bone. First of all, I need a variable called open, set it to an integer, and while we're at here I will create another one, door open interpolated, and this is a float. Door open, if it's true we're gonna set this to 1. If it's false, it's 0. Secondly, we want to set this interpolation. This will run like constantly, right? If this is true, or, yeah, if it's false, it's false. And because we will have integers here, it will be an instant 1 and an instant 0. If we want to interpolate that value, we're going to interpolate with A being the initial value or the current value basically, and B will be this one. It converts this to a float. And this way, when it's set to true, this will interpolate slowly towards, or if this is set to 1, it will be interpolated to 1 here. Now, to make it like constant on every platform, I will do delta time. And in this case, it's, let's see what we have. So this will be our interpolation and switch setup. And now we need to feed it the condition. To get the condition, and the condition is whenever the mutator zone is at a certain distance from the door, from the control rig basically, it will set it to true. If it's below the threshold, I set it to 0. We will do this by using the input, and this input control, we will reference it, or we will connect this to the mutator zone later. Now we have the input control here. we are going to world because we want to have the world position. So we're gonna attach the door to this control. So we want to use this as the second value to world. And we're gonna subtract the Z value. And because the mutator zone has the pivot point very low on the bottom, we're gonna do a offset here. And now we can say if the distance is bigger than, let's say 50. I like to get some bigger values to see what's going on. So if the value is greater than 50, set it to true. If not, go to false. So now we have our interpolation and our condition state. We are going to add a offset to the root bone. And for now, let's keep it simple for now. And later on, I will show you an additional thing where you can influence the interpolation. So we're going to multiply it by a value which direction we want it to go. For example, let's do 100. So in this case, if the condition is true, he will move the root bone 100 centimeters to the y direction. The second part is to create a blueprint with this control rig and the door mesh. So let's make it. Blueprint example door. We are adding two components. The first one is the control rig. And I'm going to add it here. The second thing is the door mesh, a static mesh. Call it door. Now I do have a door somewhere. Alrighty, and inside the control rig component, we're gonna define these elements here that we have created over here. And what we want to say is what of these elements do we want to expose to the world? And in our case, we want to have the attach control and the input control to our blueprint. First of all, I will do the input control. Go from bone to control, set this to the name we have created here as well. And we want to set this to input because we want the input from the world. Second element, we're going to reference the door. And this is also the control, and we set it to attach control. And this is the control. Another thing is important to set is the mobility, set it to movable. The next step is to add this blueprint into our world, and we need a mutator zone. Here we go. The reason why the door is offset right now is the state is set to true, because we haven't feed into the input control. And we're gonna do that right now. So we grab our door blueprint, we go down to the control rig here, and the input is over here, and we're gonna feed the mutator zone as the input. Now remember, we are going to move the mutator zone up to trigger the door, and because it has the pivot point at the bottom, we're gonna move the mutator zone down. And like what you're seeing right now is that the mutator zone is triggering the door. So this will be your initial state. We're gonna set it here. Player goes through it, triggers it, the door moves up. And this will be like, if I see like -70, probably move it up 100 to be safe. Oh. And that will trigger the door. And when the player goes out, this goes back to the original position. Another thing, the mutator zone, just to be safe, the static mesh component, set it to movable as well, so it works in any case in the game. Let's go to the first Explorer. Let's create a new first file. I'll create a device, a creative device. Contours example. So we don't need this. We'll keep it like this. So one thing we need is a tag to get all the doors we have in our game. So we go door example tag. That is a class. Of tag, and it's gonna shout at us that we forgot to use this line here. Now we have our tag here, and what we can do with this tag is we can build our verse code, select our mutator zone, and add the first tag that we just created. It's here, door example. So now this is tagged over here. This is our doors example creative device class. Another class we're gonna create later. Oh, we can do it right now. It's the door class itself. And we're going to initiate any mutator zone with this door class, so you know what to do with it. Main class here will do one basic thing, and that is find all the doors, mutator zones we have in our game, and add it to an array, and initialize this class. So we're going to do tagged get creative objects with tag. We're gonna specify this one. So now all the doors with this tag, or I should say all the mutator zones with this tag will be set in this constant here. And we're gonna loop through this array over here. And that will be just a name, actor. So for all the tagged things, we want to know if it's really a mutator zone and store that in the mutator zone constant. Mutator zone device, that is the device name, and the actor over here. So we're gonna, one more time, we're storing all the mutator zones here, but the verse code doesn't know yet if it's really a mutator zone. So we're gonna loop through all the actors basically, and we're gonna check, are you really a mutator zone device? If that's the case, then store yourself in this constant. And what we can do now is we're gonna create a new, based with this information, I'm gonna create this new class. There's a new door. And it's the door. Now we have said, okay, you are an actor, you are a mutator zone door. Now we're gonna feed you this door class. But still, nothing happens, right? This is just to get everything inside of verse. Now we have this door class and we're gonna do stuff with that. So for this door class, we need two variables in zone. That will be an integer. We're gonna count all the players that are in the zone, and the initial position of the mutator zone. It's gonna shout at us again that we want to have this line as our module. We're gonna initialize the door. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna initialize the door first, and we want to have the mutator zone reference directly here so we can feed it quickly. And we are going to set the initial position. Want to get the transform from the mutator zone. And set the initial position. Next up, we're gonna await for two events that comes with the mutator zone. One is enter event, and the other one is the exit event. We're gonna await. We're gonna create a new function, await door open. Again, we want to reference the mutator zone directly here. Loop through the event. And whenever this event is triggered, it will continue the loop. And then loops again. Agent enters event, await. One thing with a wait and a loop, we want to suspend this function. That means we can do time-based stuff. We can sleep, we can loop, without this, everything will run instantly. With suspense, we can wait, we can do more time-based stuff. And when a player is there, we're gonna handle the door open. I like it. Okay. What you can do is we can specify the agent here as well. It will feed the agent who is enter the volume here. Handle door open, we're gonna do that. We're gonna reference that agent directly, as well as the mutator zone again. We await a player enters the volume or the zone, and then we're gonna handle those things. So we have specified the agent, we want that, and the mutator zone. If a player enters the zone, we are going to set in zone plus equals 1. It's gonna basically add 1 to this variable. We're gonna say if in zone equals 1, teleport to mutator zone. So we're gonna say if one player enters the zone, teleport this mutator zone up. If there are 2 or different values in the zone, don't do anything. So this means it will only trigger when one player is in. Mutator zone, teleport to. Okay, mutator zone, teleport to. And this is it. We need to feed it something to teleport to. We're gonna say initialize position plus factor 3. We want to offset it on the z-axis, so we're gonna say plus 100. Still shouting at us because we need to have the rotation, and we're gonna do that by getting the mutator zone rotation. That's basically what we need here. Okay, transform rotation. What we're doing again, when there's one player in the zone, teleport the mutator zone up by 100 centimeters and use the original rotation. This is the await door open, but we are not spawning this function. That's what we're going to do right now. So when we initialize it, we are spawning this function, and we can wait for players to enter the zone. Again, we need the mutator zone as reference. So we are feeding, basically, we're feeding this mutator zone through this, through this, through this. And we have the references in. So we await door open. And then we do door open. And the first function is the initialization of the door. Okay, cool. Now the same thing we're gonna do. We are, well, yeah, let's see. Yeah, we can do copy paste for the closing of the door. So we await door close. All caps, of course, man. Close. Await door close. And it's shouting here to us because we're giving stuff the same name, and we're gonna fix it now. Handle door close, handle door close. Agent exits event. Okay. Handle door close. So instead of +1, we're gonna do -1. So, and if nobody is in the zone, we're gonna teleport the mutator zone back to the initial position. That's it. We've got one thing. Await door close is not spawned yet. So this loop over here will never start. So we're gonna spawn that start of the loop. And we're gonna feed the mutator zone over there as well. We have our door class. Everything looks good over here. But this initialization of the door will never trigger. And that is where we go back to the main creative device. So remember, we are setting the class over here, but we need to initialize it as well. So we're gonna say new door init door. Init door and then parentheses and then oh no, mutator door. Okay. Remember, we want to reference the mutator zone, and we do that by feeding the initialization of the door with the mutator zone door that we have found here. So this is our first code. Done. And we drag our doors example inside the game or in the level to, basically, so this will run. So what we did in code, we are saying if a player goes into the zone and if there's one player, move the mutator zone up by 100 centimeters and it moves this door. But I think it needs to open more. So let's bring this guy in. And see and I also think it needs to open up the other way because you can see here the buttons and stuff. So we're going back to the control rig. Open this up, and instead of over here, instead of multiply by +100, let's do -150. Now this is way better, right? So to influence the interpolation, we can use evaluate curve, for example, and set some keyframes to give some different reactions to the interpolation values. But I remember the ease node, and that's more easier to use. So you can use both, basically. It's not this one, it's the ease node. Yeah. And let's see how this looks. I like it. One more thing we can do is to add sound to the open and closing of the door. We're going to use the door example class here, and we're gonna add the audio player for the doors. And what I like to do in this case is to add an array. Like so. This is like the audio players for the door. And I put on the first one, I put the open, and the second one, I put the closing sound. And we need to add one constant for our door class, which is the doors example class. I called it the, that's fine. So I can reference this, the main class here. Gives us an error over here because we want to give the DE equals ourself. Now we can create a new function in our main class here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play the audio from here. Handle audio door. We're gonna use the index to determine if it's be the opening or closing of the door, and we need the agent for the instigator. And we say if audio player colon equals audio player door. Oh. We repeated the index. Then AP play for the agent. Now everybody will hear this, but it will be the player, the instigator location for the audio source. That's it. So we can do with our door class, we can do the handle door open. We have the reference to our main class, and then we can say TE. Handle audio door, and it will be open, so the first index and the agent. We have the data here, and you can see it indents here, so it will only trigger the audio when it's teleporting and opening the door. And we're doing the same thing for close. Instead it will be 1 for the closing sound. Build the first code. Now we have an array here for the two sounds. We're gonna add audio player. There are door open and door close sound. Open. Sliding door open. And can be heard by anyone. Player location is instigating player. And for the second one, door close. We're adding those two audio players here. Open, door close. And let's push this. And because we're working with tags, we can add multiple doors, and they will just update. Also, the reference to the control rig for this particular blueprint will be updated to our new created mutator zone. So we can just have infinite amount of, not infinite, but we can have multiple doors, and it will work. That's it, and see you in the next video. Ciao.